It's no surprise to anyone that pays attention to the stock market or investors of Games Workshop in particular that its stock has done very poorly in relation to the markets as of late. It topped out last year in September of 2021 at about 12,275. If you're not familiar with Games Workshop stock or the stock market, if you were going to look up the ticker, it is GAW, and it is traded, of course, on the London Stock Exchange. So since it peaked out at 12,275, it is currently at 6,330. So if we take the measuring tool here and we just look from the peak last year, roughly 1 year later, the price is down 48%. So 48% of Games Workshop's stock value, or the value of the company itself, since it is publicly traded, has evaporated in the last year. So it is down 50% almost in 1 year. Obviously, very, very poor performance for a company that is both billions of dollars and also profitable. Now, that being said, where is it headed and what was the recent move and also what caused the recent move? Well, let's zoom in here and take a closer look. So this here was the recent price action, actually yesterday. So if we just take a look at that, essentially from where the candle opened, which is the beginning of the red portion right here, until where it closed the day at, it basically lost roughly 8.58% in a single day. But if we look down here to where the wick actually comes down to, you can see my crosshair is basically at the wick right here. It was actually down 15.9% on the day. So very, very violent move to the downside. And actually, if we just look at a couple days before that, where it opened up here on September 13th to where it actually wicked down to right here, we saw basically a 21% down move in essentially a week. So in a 5-day week, we essentially saw roughly 21%. So very, very violent sell-off. Now, obviously, if you follow Games Workshop stock or you are an investor, this may have caught you by surprise. Maybe you saw it coming, but it was, in fact, in relation to a recent news. But before we jump into that news and take a look at exactly why this happened and what's likely to come, let's take a look at what has been happening. So most importantly, obviously, we see there's a clear topping pattern taking place up here at the all-time highs. And since then, it's sold off and it has consistently put in a low, then a lower high, then a low, then a lower high, low, lower high, and then come down here for a low. And now here we threaten that previous lower high, which potentially would be the beginning of, or at least the potential beginning of, an uptrend. Now, that being said, we got rejected at those levels. We got rejected at the 200 moving averages. And then since then, we have melted down back to the lows. So typically when you're putting in lower highs and lower lows, after you put in another lower high, you would expect to put in another lower low. So that wick actually took us down to threaten those lows and potentially put in a new all-time low on this trend, or as we like to refer to it, a cycle low. So that being said, let's jump in and take a look at the news, and then afterwards we'll take a look at what's likely to come with Games Workshop and where it has come from and where it is likely to end up. Warhammer Man back in the studio. I want to take a quick minute to shout out a member of the community, Don, and his YouTube page, Let's Make It 40K. He is actually the one responsible for my new logo and animation, which I love. Don reached out to me recently, and when I checked out his channel, Let's Make It 40K, I liked his energy, his attitude, and of course his logo and animation. His team agreed to make a logo and animation for me if I would give his channel a shout out. So if you like my new logo and animation, follow the link in the description. Check out his channel teaser trailer, the one we're watching right now. Give it a like, show his channel some love, and if you would be so kind as to subscribe to Let's Make It 40K, that would be absolutely stunning. It's a small new channel, but he has lots of content to come. Really like him and obviously appreciate what he has done for my channel as well. So I would love to see his channel current subscriber count go from 99 to at least double that. So if 100 of you guys would be willing to subscribe to Don's channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It would really show him that we appreciate what he has done for Warhammer Man Studios and hopefully set him in the right direction on his journey to come. I would personally like to thank Don for the awesome new logo and animation and wish him the best of luck with Let's Make It 40K. All right, so here we are on the investor page for Games Workshop. Games Workshop Group PLC Investor Relations. And if we just scroll down here and take a look at the recent announcements, we see there were two made on September 21st. The first is the trading update and dividend. So this was posted on September 21st, 2022. Games Workshop Group PLC announces today that trading for the 3 months to the 28th of August 2022 was in line with the broad expectations, with core revenue of £106 million. 2021-2022 was £98 million for comparison, and licensing revenue of £3 million. 2021-2022 revenue was £5 million for comparison, and then finally profit before tax is £39 million compared to 21-22, which was £45 million. We remain focused on sales growth and cost management. The board has also today declared a dividend of 30 pence per share, taking dividend declaration in 2022-2023 to £1.20 per share compared to 2021-2022, which was 65 pence per share. This is in line with the company's policy to distribute truly surplus cash. This will be paid on the 4th of November 2022 for shareholders on the register on the 30th of September 2022, with an ex-dividend date of the 29th of September 2022. The last date for elections for the dividend reinvestment plan is the 14th of October 2022. So the second paragraph of that, just talking about the dividend, we're just going to kind of ignore that for right now, and we're going to focus on essentially what they said about trade, the first paragraph, and what that means. So essentially they said, let's break this down. It's super short so we can analyze it very clearly. Games Workshop Group PLC announces today that trading for the 3 months to the 28th of August 2022 was in line with the board's expectations with core revenue. So it was in line with what they expected. So they expected revenue to go up to 106K compared to last year, which was 98K. So we saw essentially a increase from 98 to 106, which is roughly a 6% increase in revenue. They sold more products at higher prices, or some combination of those two things, to generate more revenue. So then next we're going to look at the licensing revenue. This year the licensing revenue was £3 million. Last year, 21-22, it was £5 million. So we obviously saw a drop of £2 million, but more importantly, we saw a drop of 40% in the licensing revenue. That is a big deal. Now, it's a small portion of their total revenue, but it's a big deal, especially if you looked at the breakdown from why they were able to beat earnings this year. The only reason they were able to beat it was because of the increase in licensing revenue. Otherwise, they would have actually had less revenue than they did the prior year. So that was a big deal. So now if you take that away, which we've taken away the extra 2 million, that's actually not a good thing. So that being said, if we look next at profit before tax, so this is saying all the revenue they took in, all their bills they had to pay out, and when it was all said and done, how much profit did they make and what percentage of their bills was it, etc. So the profit before tax this year, 39 million. The last year in the similar period, it was 45 million. So if we look at the drop there, that's another 6 million down, which if we take 39 and divide it by 45, that's a 13% drop. So we saw roughly an 8% increase in sales. We saw sales revenue. We saw a 40% decrease in licensing revenue. And then we saw a total profit decrease from 45 million down to 39 million. So we saw 40% less licensing revenue. We saw 13% less profit before tax, and we saw 8% more revenue. So when it's all said and done, Games Workshop has generated more revenue, kept less of that revenue than they have in previous years, and this is in line with what they expected. So that was obviously, a big hit to the stock, 10% in a single day roughly, but obviously based on some pretty bad news. You obviously want to, as a healthy company, especially publicly traded, you want to be consistently growing not only your revenue, but also your profits as well. Now, the dividend thing is perceived good. Obviously, the more they're paying out as a dividend, the better it is if you're a shareholder. I have touched previously on how I don't like that they are paying out. They paid out over 90% of their total, free cash or profits in dividend in the last year. So that is not what a company that's growing, reinvesting in itself does. But that is, obviously been touched on in another video. So let's go back over here to the stock and see what that looks like. So obviously that was the result, or the result was, that 10 to 20% drop, depending on if you're going from, the top to where we closed or the top to, where we wicked down to. Obviously that's in line. If you see a company that is making 13% less revenue, it makes sense that suddenly the company is worth 13% less. Games Workshop has come out and said that they expected increase in revenue but decline in profitability. They expected all of this, so this is not technically a surprise. It's just a surprise to the investors. So that being said, they did not disclose in advance that they were expecting any kind of slowdown or anything like that. So this really was a surprise to investors. So now investors are going to think of this as a potential for more surprises going into the future. As where when companies warn about a miss or potential miss, they can prepare in advance for what's to come, as opposed to just dropping it on their investors all at once. And the truth is, Games Workshop stock has done very well from that 2016 to 2021 period. And then from 2021 all through 2022, it has done very, very poorly. So it seems very likely at this point in time that after extreme overperformance, that we will likely see extreme underperformance and more pain to the downside. So we have some targets. We have the news. We have the breakdown. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe. This is not the typical content I like to do, but it is right up my alley. So if you do enjoy this type of video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also check out our regular videos, our daily content, reactions, reviews, and news, painting, modeling, conversion tutorials for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, and of course some Horus Heresy as well. And special thanks once again to Let's Make It 40K for the awesome new trailer. I'll throw that in one more time at the end, and make sure you do go over and check out his page, as it would really, really help out, and I would definitely appreciate it as well. And if you don't mind subscribing also, I'd love to see his channel grow also. So that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.